Hello everyone, this is El Spectral. Welcome back to the Land of Empires. So I just got back from a 4-hour gym session today. Kinda tired, but I think it is as good of a time as ever to do another episode commentary of the Apex Arena. And it's been a while since I did a video covering different compositions in the Apex Arena. Now we are deep into Season 10. I think Season 11 is probably coming in 2 months maximum. But a lot of things have changed since my last video. And one of the major differences is that brackets nowadays are so much harder than before. And a big reason is that a lot of different oops let's not look at this. I'm not taking the Arena of Legends very seriously these days, but a big change is that a lot of servers have recently undergone mergers, and as a result, the brackets have become so much more condensed compared to a year ago. It's completely incomparable. Like the difficulty of these arenas today, you will probably be matched against like server 42, for example. This server was probably in like Warzone 6 a year ago. Now it's condensed into Warzone 3, and we are fortunate enough to be matched against them in BBB. So I'm just gonna go through like before in my old videos, go through each Warzone, see what people are running, and see who came out as the winner. And as before, I usually cover the semifinals because once, like ideally, I want to cover the finalists. Maybe I can commentate if compositions remain the same, who is most likely to win, but people are more likely to change the compositions for the final battle. And once the final happens, you can't really see like the battle history. It becomes very difficult. You don't really see like who won. Well, obviously you can tell who won, but it's not as easy. And I think the semifinals is the best that we're all gonna get. So starting off with El Crab, I know he should be fairly strong, but assuming these people are rather they're not very comparable, so let's move on to the next. I guess this bracket is not that interesting anymore because I don't like I know the names of these people because these are some very old players. I'm not a fan of this guy to be honest, but these are some very old players, but it doesn't seem like there's anything interesting to cover in the first Warzone, surprisingly enough. But I guess yeah, let's just move on to the second Warzone. Nothing interesting to see there. So straight away we have Harris versus Batty. Classic matchup. Both players are from Rome server 22, and let's see what they ran. So Batty here, like the thing about compositions nowadays is that a lot of the weight is dependent on your last team, your third team, I should say. And this is because once you lose like the archer or the cavalry or even the infantry, the team becomes very weak and vulnerable to the next team from your opponent. So even if you win, your team can get completely washed in the next round. And that is probably what happens in these battles. Like you can see, he lost the infantry here, and his team was pretty much paper for the next round. So a lot of the end result, a big portion of it depends on what your final team is. Although there can you can see that this team was barely wounded against whatever Batty was running, but it does appear that these people are running fairly unconventional compositions, but let's review them nevertheless. So here we have Season 8 Infantry with Season 10 Cavalry and Season 9 Archer. So the only difference here is actually there's two differences. The infantry and cavalry are kind of flip-flopped. Harris ran one season higher for the infantry and one season lower for the cavalry, and I guess that didn't go well for him. The season 10 cavalry is just it's very good overall, and not only because it has very strong skills 1 through 3, but its awakening skill also gives you kind of a big buff across all different stats. So looking at the second team now, this is also fairly classic. You are running Season 9 Infantry and Cavalry together with the Season 6 Arma. So the kind of the goal here is to empower the infantry while not dying too quickly. So this team was able to, interestingly enough, they are running very similar teams. So this team was able to prevail against a slightly weakened version of the Season 10 variation. And that's very interesting to see because conceptually, you would think that heroes that are one season up would have a strong advantage because that is just on the basis of design. They should have a strong advantage versus the previous season. And indeed, if you have a full season 10 team versus a full season 9 team, the full season 10 team would prevail. But interestingly enough, the season 10 team actually was at a heavy disadvantage compared to the season 9 team. And some people say that the season 10 Titanio is very, very powerful here, but really, I'm not sure if that is what's making the difference in this outcome. If we take a look at the stats, we know that Batty does seem to be a bit stronger here, but I don't think there's too much difference between the two players. If we look at the troop type, they should both be at fully maxed tier 13.5, Glorious 15. Of course, everyone nowadays is Glorious 15, but they are indeed both tier 13.5. So this is actually a pretty interesting result. The the lower season team completely crushed the higher season team. Yeah, this is, I don't know, maybe a little bit of bad game design, but it is what it is. But in the next fight, we can see that a season 8 setup completely crushed this season 9 season 6 mix of a team, and this is kind of expected. And the reason is because the season 8 infantry and the season 8 archer are both sort of counter against season 6, and just based on how this team was built, a lot of archers, he probably got one shot by Lu Bu, and yeah, the battle probably ended very quickly there. But we can see that Cyrus also did a lot of damage. Cyrus is very good against season 6, and yeah, I'm not going to comment too much on the mechanics because I don't understand the mechanics anymore, but it is what it is. People are kind of running compositions based on hero season rather than actual skill design, which is, I think, very unfortunate. But it is just how the game works nowadays. Skill interactions are way too complicated to interpret, and unless we get like some kind of testing server, it is very difficult to establish why some teams are winning and why sometimes things straight up don't work. So the next fight is between Sev and Prisky Wafu. I do believe Sev is stronger, but it does appear that Sev lost this fight. Let's see Prisky Wafu's stats. Very respectable. We have T13.4 infantry as well as cavalry, which is, very important. So let's take a look at the teams now. So Sev ran a very popular season 10 composition consisting of 7-5, 7-5 with season 10 cavalry and season 8 archer. But this team is actually weak, as I showed in my previous video, to season 6, unfortunately. And this is what Prisky used to counter Sev. I guess Prisky set up this team specifically to counter what Sev was running, and he profited off that. And following that, I'm not too big of a fan of this composition, but I think it is fairly solid overall, and we are able to see that based on Prisky Waku winning the next two battles. So congratulations to Prisky Waku as well as Batty for being semifinalists in Warzone 2. Overall, I think Batty is probably gonna crush. Let's take a look at the compositions. Yeah, I don't know. I think these compositions are just very weird, but at the end of the day, Batty's stats might simply prevail. Also, we have to take note that he has already maxed the new Titanio, which was released slightly about a week ago. Yeah, if we look at Waku, he's barely has any resonated Titanio, so he's definitely going to be super down stat-wise. But he was able to prevail against Sev, so he might prevail against Batty. I don't have any tips for him because these teams look absolutely weird to me. But yeah, best of luck to him. Moving on to Warzone 3, starting out with JFK versus Crimson Knight. So JFK here, he is very good at countering whatever you're running. So you better have your eyes out because before the battle opens, there's a period where you can change your composition, And you can be sure that your opponent, JFK here, is going to crush you if you keep the same composition. And let's see. So in this first team, um, I don't know if he intentionally ran something that gets countered, but typically you would not want to run Season 6 against Leona. And if we take a look at the results, he did get crushed in the first battle. Taking a look at the second battle, one of the reasons why I like this fairly popular composition for Season 10 is that it is very good against either the Season 10 Archer or the Season 7 Archer or even the Season 9 Archer to some extent. And we can see that this should be a very one-sided win, and it is indeed the case for JFK. Now, moving on to the next battle, we have kind of a mirror setup here. But here, Crimson Knight is actually running the team that in the previous Warzone, Waku ran. And we can see that this team, I would say this team gets countered by the most popular team here. But let's just take a look at the stats real quick. The stat overall seems to be slightly advantaged for JFK in terms of unit quality. I do say that JFK has the slight advantage here, but at the end of the day, the battle is very even. So once again, this came down to the last team, and in the last team, yeah, in the last team, JFK had clear advantage here for two reasons. The first reason is that Khufu is very, very good versus Season 7. Very, very good. Like Khufu, when he was released, you could run like a full full Season 8 team, and it would crush a full Season 17. Reason? I have no idea. But that is simply how it worked. And here he was able to run Khufu as well as Leona, both are very good against Season. Well, Khufu is very good. Leona, somewhat good. But he was able to prevail, we can see, by a huge margin. It's like you just don't want to run 776 or 547 or whatever from Season 7 versus Khufu. Like, you will have a very, very bad time. So congratulations to JFK there. Here, I didn't bother to change my composition, so Sin X was free to counter me. And let's see what he used to counter. Like, if I was running against my own team personally, I would probably. I mean, it's just so easy to counter. I think, like, I could run. I don't even know, like a full Season 7 Team 1, or Leona team for Team 1, or even Khufu. Like, I can run my Team 3 against my Team 1, and then run a Season 6 team against my Team 2, and then run my Team 2 against my Team 3, and I would completely crush myself. So let's see what he ran. So he actually ran a mirror team against my Team 1. Fair call. It gets rid of my Team 1. And yeah, this was a very even battle. Well, he used the Season 6 Cavalry instead of Quinn. And what Quinn does is that it confers your infantry reduced melee damage taken. So it means that he should not deal as much like melee damage as I can deal to him. But at the end of the day, it was fairly even, and it didn't matter for the next team. So for the next team, he ran a mirror setup to me, apparently. Yeah, it looks like a mirror setup. And as I said earlier, my Team 2 can completely crush my Team 3. So we can see that despite being so much weakened here, going from 430,000 troops down to 209,000, I'm surprised that none of his unit types died here. Let's see how many remaining troops he had on his end. So only 28,000 and only 4,000 archer. He was able to crush my Team 3 without losing anything. And I think, like, the mechanic here is that somehow, I'm not going to try to dig into how this happens, but I can tell you that without looking at the replay, Neptune Arc, when he's on your team, combined with the Season 8 Archer, he is able to produce so much, like, normal attack damage that normal attack damage against, like, a Season 6 build, that he completely obliterates your season 6 like team. Like I call this team season 6 because the moment you fit the season 6 archer onto your team, it is kind of a season 6 team. But it like Khufu is doing nothing here. Khufu is good against season 6, he's good against season 7, but he's not good against season 8 and 10. But anyways, let's just take a look at the report here. As expected, the melee damage is huge here, and all the damage appears to be dealt by the cavalry. I just think it's ridiculous. Like how is this a valid outcome? So let's just take a quick look at the replay because I'm also kind of interested because I feel like I should at least be able to like do a lot of damage, like instantly kill his infantry. But obviously that is not what happened. He like look at the damage he's able to deal to my infantry here. It's just so insane. Like Khufu, he's supposed to like reduce a lot of the damage taken, but obviously that's not the case here. And I just get completely wiped. Like look at his infantry. His infantry started out with 28,000 troops, and it took me like forever to kill those 28,000 troops. I just think it is ridiculous. Anyways, congratulations to SynX and JFK from Zone 3. Good luck on the final fight. Moving on to Vyalson. I haven't seen this name for a while. He is, wow, quite strong actually. Let's take a look at, I'm not qualified to look at his stats, but let's look at his opponent. It doesn't seem that interesting. Let's look at the compositions. So he ran a fairly standard and popular Season 8 composition. I wouldn't recommend running this as your last team, and evidently he got wiped by Vyalson. But I'm not going to dive too deep into that because his opponent was probably a tier lower than him, like power-wise. But SK On, I recognize this name, but as before, it does seem like his opponent was weaker, but you never know. Weaker opponents can sometimes beat you by countering whatever you're running. So let's take a look at the last team here. Yeah, Season 8 versus Season 6. Adam is not going to have a good time. But he was already down on troops. But like you can see, although he was down on troops, this was a fairly one-sided fight. Like he was never going to win, even if he had 400,000 troops here. An would not take that much damage. Congratulations to An and Vyalson. Moving on to Warzone 5, we have something more interesting. We have Killer Bunny versus Wandis and Kalikeos, or Caligula, versus Scarface. I love that name. Not Scarface. I love Caligula. It just sounds very cool. Yeah, Killer Bunny versus Wandis. I would say Killer Bunny is stronger for sure, but let's take a look. So Wandis ran, wow, he got shredded. Well, not shredded, but I'm kind of surprised he lost badly here. I guess Killer Bunny is just so much stronger than Wandis. Yeah, if we take a look at the stats, it's so much higher. Like all troop attack, all troop defense, these are 300% higher. If we take a look at the troop quality, all maxed versus Wandis, respectable. Like Wandis is definitely a top player. Like do not underestimate Wandis by any means. He's one of the strongest players in the game. But versus like compared to completely maxed players, you're still a bit behind. But yeah, I don't think there's too much to analyze here. Like I think if they were even, Killer Bunny would not win this first fight. And this in the second fight we have Season 10, 9, 10. So this is kind of like running one season higher for one of your troops. Somehow that usually works. And in this case, I guess Wandis was just so crushed by. Like, look at this. This doesn't make sense at all. Like, we have Michael, technically. We have Michael from Season 5, and yeah, and some infantry. And he was able to almost cripple Wandis' team. Let's take a look at this fight. I'm very interested. So Michael is very not strong. Um, and this is not like an exaggeration. Michael is from season 5 and he's very weak. But somehow, like him dying very quickly is expected, but somehow the season 10 cavalry just goes like becomes Super Saiyan and deals so much damage before he falls. Now this like his survivability sort of makes sense because he has so much self buffing. Like he has a very strong self buffing skill. Like I can probably show it at the end of this video if I remember, but it's still ridiculous. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Now we have Caligula versus Scarface. Team one, we have um, that's quite interesting. We have something I've never seen before, and if it is a comp I've never seen before, it's probably kind of mediocre. We have 8-8-10 versus 7-4-8 6, kind of. And yep, this was pretty even. Like I feel like they're just throwing random stuff here. And round two, we have the Kellerman Arma with season 9 Cavalry and season 6 Archer versus actually, well, it's not a fairly popular composition because this would be switched with Lubu. And 1099 here, yeah, it got shredded by whatever Caligula is running. So I might try this composition. Like I'm kind of afraid of trying this composition because I feel like it's gonna get absolutely brutalized by 7-5-10-8. But it's still interesting. Like I guess the reason is that whatever Scarface is running here is not commonly seen, so I don't really need a reason to counter whatever he's running. But we can see that um, his next team, which is very interesting. Like I've been seeing this composition more and more here. People are running, um, people are running kind of like a 5-4-7 setup, but instead of using Morgan, you are using Morgan's armament on the season 10 cavalry. And this is obviously superior to running Morgan straight up because the season 10 cavalry awakening skill is simply incredible. And the rationale here is you empower the archer. And in this case, the archer is going ham, not going ham. So where is the damage coming from? Who's dealing the damage? We have 40,000 here. The Titanio? The Titanio is doing the damage. Wow. Yeah, I got no comment. Why is the Titanio doing so much god freaking damage here? Let's take a look at the replay. Uh, like I wish I could like try to interpret why some outcomes happen the way they do, but the game just makes it so difficult. Okay, so not much damage is being done, but the moment the Titanio uses their skill, apparently Caligula just completely melts. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Um, maybe the season like my only explanation is that the season 8 Archer allowed the Titanio to suddenly deal like significantly more damage. Mm, but going to the next team suddenly, it's not doing much damage. Like, what is going on? But anyways, we have sort of a mirror setup here. So yeah, Caligula won because he is stronger than Scarface to some extent, right? So 13.4 versus 13.3, so slightly stronger. And when you're running kind of a mirror matchup, the stronger player prevails. So congratulations to Killer Bunny and Cali Chaos. Good luck in the next round. Followed by Warzone 6, we have Pupsy versus Kuksu. Let's check the time. We still have a lot of time. Kuksu is looking to be very strong and fairly even versus Pupsy. I kind of wish I could take a look at the actual Lord power of these players, but obviously I can't. And to the right side, we have Greggy, cool skin by the way, versus Mako. They should be pretty evenly matched, so hopefully we can see some interesting setups here. Yeah, first team we have fairly standard again, and like when you're running these Arma teams, I know everyone loves to run Arma, but like in cases like these, I feel like you're intentionally crippling yourself because, like in my opinion, 996 is superior to 9496. Like you're still gonna lose to whatever you're still gonna lose to the team that Pupsy is running for round one. But yeah, I don't feel like the Kellerman Arma on your season 9 infantry is doing any favors here. But he got crushed in team one, and this is kind of important. And going back to what I was saying at the very beginning of this video, where a lot of the focus centralizes on your last team. However, if you get crushed so hard at the very beginning, then you run into the risk of your enemy's team going through two of your teams. And when that happens, your last team suddenly it has to go through two teams, and that's usually not a good thing for you. So in the next battle, we have actually very interesting here. So we can see that this team. Oh, okay, yeah. So this team is, as I mentioned earlier, is a fairly popular team. Of course, without the Arma, but the Arma might actually make it even better. This team is okay versus whatever Pupsy is running. It is okay also versus the Arma variation, so 7, 5, 10, 8. And we can see here that this team is superior to this non-Arma variation. And yeah, I'm kind of interested in whether the Season 6 Infantry Arma is improving the survivability of Joan of Arc, because Joan of Arc herself is not very tanky, unfortunately. But anyways, we have this classic team in Team 3 for Koksu, but as I said before, you have to go through two teams, and usually that ends very poorly for you. So he was left with 335,000 troops, and versus what Pupsy ran in the end, you can see that it was fairly close. Like if he didn't have to go through that first battle, if he had the full number of infantry here, he might have prevailed. Although it is very interesting to see here how well this team did against Koksu. Like before, we took a look at the Season 10 with the Arma, and here we have a variation of that team. We have the Season 7 hero with the Arma, who is arguably even better than the Season 10 hero. So yeah, congratulations to Pupsy here. And moving to the right side, we have Greggy and Mako. And taking a look at the result. Oh, we already covered this first battle, I believe. Yeah. And Greggy ran the classic team for Team 2 and was able to crush that team. And yeah, this team actually went through two different teams, which is very impressive. But I think that he made the mistake of maybe he just wasn't set up properly, because I think at this point, Season 6 is a very obvious counter towards 7, 5, 10, 8. And whatever Greggy ran is definitely not a viable counter. It did absolutely nothing. I'm just so disappointed by the Season 10 Archer. It's like the Season 10 Archer, it just feels objectively worse than the Season 9 Archer even. Like the Season 9 Archer isn't even that good. Like you would see everyone loves running the Season 8 Archer. Like you cannot get any energy. You cannot get enough energy, on the Season 8 Archer in the Battle Disorder. Like the moment your Season 8 Archer runs out of energy, your overall combat potential just like drops dramatically for the bigger players. And if we take a look at the season 9 Archer or even the season 7 Archer Leona, they have this skill that boosts their rage skill cycling like rate by a lot. Like the season 9 Archer gets 20% charge value when they perform a basic attack, and basic attacks happen about every 1.5 seconds. Now, if we take a look at the season 10 Archer, he where is that? Yeah, every 3 seconds he gets 20% charge value. So this is a direct nerf. Like this might as well be every normal attack, but you get 10 or maybe 15% charge value. Like maybe you do a normal attack like every 2 seconds. I guess you can argue that like versus Kellerman, you don't get to do normal attacks and therefore you don't get to use your like rage skill. But honestly, people are not running people are not gonna want to run like this armament against a season 10 hero unless he's as bad as Genghis Khan, which is the current design. Like I just feel like this is such a bad hero. Like his only redeeming factor is that his awakening skill is actually decent. Like after the first 10 seconds, which is no time at all your troops gain a 50% normal attack damage until the battle ends. Like this is actually decent. And people have been using him like they've been running Genghis Khan with the season 6 Archer armament, and that has produced some very good results. But without armaments, this hero is just straight up bad. Like people have tried using him like they would use Leona, like in a 5-4-7 setup, but instead run 5-4-10. But I mean, it's just still so bad. But I guess we have a little bit of time for one more Warzone. We have to the left Werner versus Merzabe, and to the right we have Charles versus Death Knight. Let's take a look at the first. Let's take a look at the right side. Charles, I believe they should be fairly evenly matched here. They are, which is great. We get to review a proper matchup at the end of the video. So in the first team, he ran season 9 with Michael's Arma and basically a full season 9 team, but with Michael's Arma and why would you do this? Oh, actually, yeah. So I thought this was completely mirror, but with Kellerman's Arma instead of Michael's Arma, which would be very, very strange. But he ran the season 8 Archer. Now, when you are running a mirror team, but with like one season up for the Archer, it's usually a good thing. So, for example, when you're running 10 like 7-5 10-8, some people might counter with 7-5 10-9. Although I would say that is somewhat of a weak counter, it is definitely far from the most effective counter. So this first fight was relatively even. I would give the advantage overall to Charles, but because he was probably a little bit weaker, I would say. Yeah, he was significantly weaker. But I would say overall composition-wise, he ran the better composition. But of course, that didn't matter. Moving on to the next team. Next team we have what I would say is fairly classic, but instead of the season 8 Archer, we have the season 9 Archer. So this composition is even more vulnerable to like season 6 setup, I would say. And we can see that Charles was able to produce very good results with this partial season 6 team. I think it would have been much more effective if he had ran like Kellerman, for example. And Lu Bu in a season 6 team, it might seem reasonable. And I've tested back then, like, because Lu Bu's awakening skill is very interesting. He is able to deal a lot of melee attack damage. But the thing about a season 6 team is that you are not relying on melee attack damage. You are relying on the cavalry's rage skill and secondary skill damage. You can see here, Lu Bu isn't even doing much melee damage. So I think the priority here is to protect your infantry. And to that end, running like the season 5 Cavalry Quinn, which is one of my favorites, or some people like using the season 7 Cavalry Dorothy, they can protect the infantry much better than Lu Bu can. Well, Lu Bu doesn't confer any protection at all, and we can see that here Gilgamesh dealt a lot of melee damage, to the infantry and probably to the archer as well as the cavalry after the infantry died. And a big portion of that damage could have been avoided had you ran, Quinn with the cavalry armor. So, but at the end of the day, this team would have still fallen by Death Knight's next team because once your archer dies, the season 6 team loses a lot of its power. And the primary reason is because the archer protects the season 6 team, and that protection kind of wears off the moment the season 6 cavalry launches their rage skill. And the rage skill is kind of like a double hitter. I will explain that at the end of the video. But he would have won much more convincingly had he ran full like Kellerman here. But anyways, and a better cavalry. So here we have one of my favorite teams. I do personally I do prefer running Kellerman's Arma on Neptune Arc rather than Michael's Arma. I have actually not tested this team against a mirror, but the only difference being the Kellerman versus Michael Arma. But this team was introduced to me by Crimson Knight, so thank you for that. And I just like it. So this team was able to completely crush his last team, which I just think is straight up bad. Like, just the fact that you are running the Season 10 Archer makes it kind of bad. I've just seen so few uses of the Season 10 Archer. I know JFK has been asking me to find additional uses for the Season 10 Archer, but at this point, we are so close to Season 11 already. I think it's just time to give up on him. I think he has no value to this game, and he should fall off completely by Season 11, hopefully. So congratulations to Charles and Mirzabe. Good luck in the next round. Going back to what I was saying about the Season 6 Archer, I think he has a very interesting skill. Not only does his rage skill deal significant damage to the enemy team, he also has this passive skill. After 15 seconds from the start of the battle, all enemy troops will take 1400% damage. The final part doesn't matter. It's all about the damage. He's able to double hit you. You get hit by a 1600%, then you get hit by a 1400%, totally 3000% damage. And this damage has some special property. It goes through some different defense. Specifically what? I have no idea. But that is a big reason why the Season 6 Cavalry is still so good. So congratulations to all the players. I know I wasn't able to cover all the different war zones, but I know that this is already going up 135. Let's just take a quick look. So Daddy Split lost against Mango Chicken. Imagine losing to food. We have Daddy Mam. What are these names? Daddy Mama winning against Collapse. In the next war zone, we have Dr. Chromac losing against Titus, and we have Giga. He should be from a very low server, but maybe he migrated. A lot of these players actually migrated. He won against LDGN. Moving on to Warzone 11, we have Soju winning against John Wick, and Gadar winning against Necro. But where is server 177? Well, not here apparently. So this spells the end of this episode. I think we are on episode 8 maybe, or maybe episode 7 or 9. I completely lost track. But I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see everyone in my next video or next Apex Arena review. Take care.